Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. When we picture international diplomacy, our minds usually jump straight to high-stakes summits and tense geopolitical negotiations, definitely not spreadsheets. But today we're zooming way past the basic data to explore the hidden architecture that actually makes all those massive global missions possible. We are looking at the fascinating, high-pressure world of the global controller.
Now, you might be picturing a comptroller as, well, the ultimate number cruncher. Maybe some guy tucked away in a windowless basement office, mechanically signing off on expense reports. But as we unpack the source material today, we're going to see how they are actually a high-stakes strategic visionary. They are a global diplomat. The decisions they make literally ripple across borders, completely shaping global economic resilience and keeping multi-billion-dollar international mandates afloat. And that brings us to the core tension of the whole gig. On one side, you have the traditional bean counter, the person obsessed with statutory reporting, payables, and absolute strict adherence to international accounting standards. And look, that technical rigor is absolutely non-negotiable. But the reality? The reality is that this technical authority is just the baseline. The real job is acting as a strategic enabler. It's a wild balancing act between rigid technical authority and immense real-world strategic advising. They are managing diplomacy across 193 member states, all while actively securing the livelihoods of thousands of staff members deployed globally. To really wrap our heads around this complexity, we're going to break it down into 5 distinct hats the comptroller wears: the Executive Balancing Act, mastering global financial reporting, securing pensions and insurance, navigating decentralized global systems, and driving innovation and change. Let's get right into it. Starting off with hat number 1, the Executive Balancing Act. So what's the actual secret sauce here? It's all about striking this incredibly delicate daily balance. They are enforcing strict internal controls for sure, but they are simultaneously advising the Director General on overarching global financial policy. Think about it. If rigid technical rules prevent the organization from executing an emergency health or aviation mission, the entire system fails. The controls and the strategy absolutely must pull in the exact same direction. To put it simply, they aren't just processing invoices in a vacuum. Actually, scratch that. They're doing way more. Through this dual-role framework, they're often chairing the Financial Management Council and directly shaping the organization's overarching risk posture. When international economic conditions suddenly shift, it's the comptroller who translates those external shocks into actionable internal strategy, basically ensuring there's enough cash on hand to keep the lights on without violating a single international accounting rule. Moving right along to our second hat, mastering global financial reporting. Because you absolutely cannot just mandate a new global accounting rule overnight. It takes a highly orchestrated, phased approach, moving carefully from scoping and drafting all the way through to formal panel reviews and implementation. Why? Because you have to roll out massive regulatory changes without sparking an international incident. This structure gives everyone a voice at the table before the rules are finalized, which is essential for smooth adoption. Now, you might be asking yourself, okay, so what? Well, this is exactly why it matters. Precise reporting isn't just about ticking boxes for regulatory compliance, it's a critical tool for dispute avoidance. When financial oversight is weak, it breeds mistrust, and in international organizations, mistrust spreads like wildfire, rapidly escalating into broader diplomatic or commercial disputes. Flawless statutory reporting is literally a mechanism for diplomatic confidence building.
And let's pause and book about the sheer scale here for a second. These financial policies impact the regulatory systems and infrastructures of all 193 member states, 193. Whether we're talking about funding global health initiatives or supporting civil aviation authorities, introducing just a single new reporting standard requires a massive, perfectly coordinated capacity building effort across both mature and developing economies.
Which brings us to hat number 3, securing pensions and insurance. This is where we bring the data back down to earth, because behind all those billions of dollars are real, everyday people. We're talking about actively securing retirement funds and health insurance for staff who are deployed to some of the most challenging environments on the planet. If someone is stationed out in a crisis zone, the absolute last thing they should be worrying about is whether their organization's internal controls are robust enough to process their health insurance. But keeping that promise, that is incredibly complex. The comptroller has to shield these massive funds from a wild barrage of unpredictable real-world risks. We're talking sudden economic downturns, widespread public health emergencies, even volatile global fuel prices.
They are constantly adjusting investments and ensuring sustainable liquidity, just so the money is actually there when people need it most. But here's the kicker. All these protective funds, every single pension and health reserve, rely entirely on one foundational bedrock: certified statutory financial reporting. This is essentially a globally recognized stamp of approval proving the math is totally flawless. Without that rigorous, transparent presentation, the external auditor and the member states lose trust. And without trust, the funding stream that protects those vulnerable populations completely dries up. All right, shifting gears to our fourth hat, navigating decentralized global systems. Just think about this sprawling stakeholder landscape for a minute. At headquarters, you have central policy and treasury, but then you have a global service center churning out massive daily volumes of payroll and payables. Add to that regional offices dealing with entirely different levels of institutional maturity, plus hosted entities requiring totally unique special purpose funds. The supreme challenge is managing this whole shebang simultaneously without imposing an unworkable, suffocating degree of central control. So it becomes this continuous, delicate, diplomatic negotiation. The comptroller has to ensure that whether you're processing a transaction at a massive global service center or managing a grassroots project in a small island developing state, the standard of financial stewardship remains flawless. It's about empowering the folks on the ground while making absolutely sure the overarching culture of internal controls doesn't fracture across borders. Finally, we arrive at our fifth and final hat: driving innovation and change. Listen, rolling out a massive global financial management system, like migrating to an Oracle or SAP platform, is never just a quick IT upgrade. It requires a deliberate multi-year approach. You're mapping outdated legacy systems, you're engaging stakeholders to navigate inevitable cultural resistance, and finally executing a phased implementation. If you rush this in a massive international organization, the entire financial nervous system could literally paralyze. And to make sure this modernization actually sticks and isn't just a flash in the pan, the controller has to play champion for continuous capacity building. It's about deploying accessible e-learning modules, running targeted regional seminars, and integrating cloud-based digital tools so that knowledge isn't just hoarded at headquarters. The goal is to equip national trainers to use contemporary business intelligence tools effectively, building up self-sustaining peer learning networks long after the initial rollout is done. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. We've seen how the global comptroller balances rigid technical rules with high-stakes diplomacy, securing both billions of dollars and actual human livelihoods. But as our international systems evolve and external shocks become more and more frequent, how will these global financial frameworks adapt to the next era of unpredictable global crises? How will the next generation of comptrollers keep our global institutions connected, resilient, and financially secure in an increasingly volatile world? It's a massive challenge, and one that impacts us all. Thanks for exploring this with me today.